We are live. So, hey guys, welcome to our next MSP Inspire session. Today we have with us Salman and Gomo with us. So, Simran, can you like take the introduction started?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Inspire session, your weekly dose of inspiration from MSPs across the world. We're here today to be continuing the Blazor and .NET series, and we have Salman MKC like the previous session, and we've got Gomo, who we were missing the previous session. And these people will be introducing you to the world of Blazor and .NET and taking you uh, and yeah, so let me just give a short introduction of myself and then we can maybe move forward. I am Simran Makhija, a beta student, Microsoft student partner from India, and a fan of MSP Inspire. This is the first time I'm here and I'm very happy to be here. Sabiha.
Thank you, Simran, for the introduction, and we're so glad that you're tuning in today. So, I'm Sabiha, a Gold Microsoft student partner from the UAE, and Simran and I will be your hosts for today. So, Simran, why don't you go and introduce our first speaker?
Our first speaker of the day is somebody a lot of you might be familiar with. For those that don't know him, he's an incoming cloud solutions architect intern at Microsoft, a .NET Foundation member, a Microsoft fan, and a Microsoft student partner from United Kingdom. Any guesses? Any guesses at all? I mean, oh, people in my house know him. So our first speaker for the day is Salman Chisti, who would be taking over in a second, maybe. Salman,
Hello,
hey.
can you hear me? Wow, why are you being so nice? What is this? You're like saying, that's too kind. No, nah. Simon's too kind. Like everyone here, I'm really, grateful to be with. Really amazing people, and yeah, the biggest thing I think that Simon said, which is correct, is that I'm a Microsoft fan. So, that's me. So, for me, I'm just going to be really just recapping what happened in the last session because I'm assuming not everyone here has seen anything on Blazor. So we're going to go into that. So let's go into .NET or Visual Studio, and this is basically the project we were working on last time. Was the website that we have. So we've got our pages, our index pages, and if you look at it, it just looks like a normal HTML web page. So in fact, I'll show you how you can actually start an actual, Blazor application to begin with, and we will start with that. So if I just get my screen up and running again. Let's see. So I do also encourage all of you to ask questions in the chat because questions. There's no such thing as a silly question, and I really believe that. So we're gonna straight away just go into Visual Studio and we're gonna look for Blazor app. You can search for Blazor up here as well. You need to install the ASP.NET features for Visual Studio, and then you should be able to get these features. You don't actually have to use Visual Studio itself. You can just use Visual Studio Code, but I prefer to use the fully fledged editor IDE itself. So we've got a Blazor, and we're going to use a Blazor app, and as you can see, it's a cloud and web application. Those are the tags it has. You can use these tags up here. Okay, so we're going to click next, and we're going to start our Blazor app, and we're going to just call it Blazor app 2. Okay, so we create our application. I've already got that, so let's call it demo app. We'll start, and for now, we're just going to choose server app. You can also look into client apps. I think generally server apps are going to be better, like running faster, but it's kind of up to you. You can look into templates, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. So I'm going to click create, and we will have our sample code at the beginning. It's as if you've ever seen just a normal ASP.NET application. It looks pretty similar. So we can go into our pages here, and we've got our index.razor. Let me just reopen that. Index.razor. And as you can see, we have just a normal page which says, hello world, welcome to app. H1 is the tag for header. And then down here, this is just some more text. This is our root for our application. So if you want to modify where it goes, if you want to do slash, over here, if we go to fetch data, they have slash fetch data. And you may notice what's the difference between, a normal HTML application and, a Blazor or C# application. I mean, a Blazor and, Razor Pages application with Blazor. And it's that we have C# code being used. We have a using statement up here. We have a C# for loop. So if you're familiar with any .NET at all, .NET Framework or .NET Core, this is really nice because you can start using your object-oriented programming within a website, and it's that nice area of staying in that .NET ecosystem. You don't have to leave C# at all nowadays. You don't have to you can do .NET desktop applications using the WinUI. You can use .NET whilst building applications for the HoloLens whilst you're making a website now, and it's pretty cool. Even machine learning, you're using ML.NET, and a lot of these things are open source. .NET Core itself is open source, and if you do want to contribute, just check out the repos online. If you actually go into, I've got my emails open, so if you go to github.com/Microsoft, you can see all of their repositories, which actually fall under C# and .NET. So if I go into type, or if I choose language C#, you can see a plethora of things which you can contribute to. It's all open source. I myself, I like to contribute a lot to. Let's see what I've been working on recently. So these are some private projects, but it's okay. You can see this. I like to contribute to these projects from Microsoft. There's Power Toys, different projects like the XAML controls gallery, things like that. And it's all open source, so anything you spot in there, just feel free to make a pull request. So let's go into the application, and we'll just run this. We'll see what the standard start screen is going to be like, and this is the default thing which comes, so you don't have to know anything to get this running. All you have to do is be able to run this on a machine, and everything. It's a very simple installation. You just download Visual Studio and choose to install ASP.NET. Okay, so we're on this application. We're going to see what loads up on our page. Okay, so hello world as we had before, and that's an H1 header, and then you got just more text. This is our navigation. You might wonder why do we have this on the side? So actually Blazor is component based. So if you actually look into our code, if we can go, let's stop this here. If we look into our code, we can see we've got different components as well. So if we actually go into our index, we have our normal page. If we go into, let's find our nav menu, you can see this is going to be our nav menu over here. And it's really awesome. So if you're used to React, you can get into that whole component area. And I'm pretty sure Gomo will go a bit more into this later on after I pass it over to him. But yeah, it's really awesome. So I'm going to just jump over to the website that we've been working on. This is the MSPInspire website. So we've got a bunch of things set up. I've set up this page where you have a Teams page. So you can, create an instance. You can create an instance of your class of Teams. Teams will be a normal, class in C# where you have your getters and setters, and you can set up this just like you would any other C# application. And then I'm going to have a Teams application. So I've added, an object for me, an object for David, Sabiha, and Sundaresha. And I'm just filling this in. I'm adding them to a list, standard C# things. And then within my Teams page, all I'm going to do is I'm going to load. This is in my Teams page. It's where's Teams page? I just had it right here. Team.razor. There you go. So I'm basically creating an instance of Teams, which when I do this in my constructor in Teams here, in my constructor for Teams, I'm creating the instances of a team member, adding that to that Teams public, list that I have, and then I'm going to be utilizing that list within my C# code. So I have an @ here, and there are for each is going to be using, these code variables. I'm just correcting this. It looks a bit weird. So yeah, that's what that is. Over here, member in teams.teams. Then we have member.firstname. So I'm calling the property of that member, and this is using the get from the getter and setter, and the same with second name, same with picture, same with subtitle. So it's pretty straightforward stuff, and it's pretty nice because anytime you just want to use C#, it's all there for you. And again, it's the same. It's the same. We're going to be using CSS just like normal. If you go into the actual www root folder, you can go to CSS. You can see it uses Bootstrap as well. You can go to the site CSS. You can modify these things just as normal. You can start doing animations, and it's pretty similar. So yeah. I think that's it. I think I'll run it just to show you what it looks like. You can see how short. Am I getting something wrong? var input. Okay, this is. Let me comment that out. I don't think I've updated with this with the latest pull request, honestly. I don't normally. Let me pull changes down from the server. Fetch my latest commits. I'm not even the correct repository. Let's see. Which repository am I in? Website. Yeah, sync. Let's fetch. Oh, I'm in a different branch. That's why. I've been working on a Twitter feed feature, so that's why I'm not on that branch. So let's merge the changes. And this is how easy it is to manage, Git within Visual Studio. This is nice. Cool. Working on a laptop's pretty laggy, so hopefully that's up to date. Okay. Hey, am I running the website? MSPInspire. website. So it's basically this code, but I'm working on some features, so it's not gonna be showing everything. So I'll show you just our deployment branch right now, master branch. Let's see, hopefully it loads. So yeah, this is what it looks like. Unfortunately, I'm working on some features, so I've broken the code a bit, but it looks like this. My internet's a bit slow, so this is I've loaded an image using a C# property team page, which I just showed you. This is using a for loop. My picture I haven't updated in here. If I do want to update that, I can just go to Twitter and update that image within the C# class. I don't have to update anything in HTML. So if I want to grab this, I can just grab my picture from here. Follow me as well if you want to ask me a question. Let's go into our page in our team. Let's go. Where's my team CS? Teams CS, I mean. Let's update this. Fix a bit of bugs, and oh wait, I'm not doing it on my deployment branch, but you get what I mean. I update it in the CSS, and then when it pushes, it will make that change. So I hope that makes sense. And I think that's it for me. I'm gonna pass over to Homer now to carry on with the talk. And any questions, do reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help. As I did say, my Twitter is here, Salman MKC, and I'm more than happy to help answer any questions you have. Thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to Gomo's part.
Awesome. So before the host comes in, this was just a surprise. They had no idea I was going to do this, right? And I have no idea the best way to say thank you to everyone out there, right? This is the community, and this is what we've done. Yes, it's actually my birthday, and I know a lot of you wished me, and you are still on the call. So I wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you, because maybe I might not be able to reply to all of you. But yeah, it doesn't concern C#. It just concerns MSPInspire. So thank you so much. Over to you, host.
One last thing,
Thank
check out
you.
if you want to actually get involved in this project, we've open sourced it, and it's here. Everything's there. It's got deployment branches and everything, so that's how we're running it on as well.
That was such a great demo, and I think it would be really helpful for those who are really interested to get started with the same. And happy birthday to Dawuda again. So I'll just go ahead and share with you a little about our next speaker. So our next speaker is Homolemo Mohapi, who is a South African applications development student from Durban University of Technology, and he has a keen interest in different Microsoft tools and technologies. So as a Microsoft student partner, he has hosted numerous workshops in universities across his country, which ranged in topics such as ASP.NET, Microsoft Azure, and artificial intelligence. Homolemo has also studied in the United States, and he specialized in web development and design, and he's always looking for new innovative technologies to share his knowledge with as many people as he can. So over to you, Homolemo.
Hi guys, how are you? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, everyone can hear you. Thank you so much. We are fine. Over to you.
Okay, great. So I wanted to first start off by saying sorry for not making it on the other session. I had a few issues, but everything has been sorted out and I'm happy that I'm here now. So I'm just gonna start off with just two basic slides. I like to visually show the things that we'll be talking about. So today we'll be talking about Blazor and .NET and how to build interactive web sites using these technologies. Blazor is an exciting technology that allows you to create web-based apps using C# instead of JavaScript. However, you can still implement custom JavaScript code if you need to. .NET has always been known for creating server-rendered apps, where you stick some .NET code onto the server, and in response to browser requests, it will generate either HTML or JSON for you. Now, in the past, if you wanted to do anything on the client side, you would have to make use of one of these frameworks, writing some form of JavaScript. But now, this is no longer the case, because as a .NET dev, you can also create rich, reusable UI components using Blazor. Blazor has two different runtime modes, namely being server-side Blazor and client-side. Client-side is also known as WebAssembly. Both of these modes run in modern web browsers. Blazor Server renders Razor components on the server and updates the web page using a Signal R connection. The Blazor framework then sends events from the browser, such as button clicks and mouse movements, to the server. In turn, the Blazor runtime computes changes to the components on the server and sends a diff-based web page back to the browser. With client-side Blazor is composed of the same code as server-side. However, it runs entirely in the browser using a technology known as WebAssembly. The primary difference in Blazor apps that are created in server-side versus client-side is that the client-side apps need to make web calls to access server data, whereas the server-side Blazor apps can omit the step as well as their code is executed on the server. What's nice about these two runtime modes is that they are both components-based. So the same code you write in a server app, you can write in a web app. And what's great about writing code in a WebAssembly app is that it's just a bunch of static files. So the hosting model is also different. You can write C# client-side code on a WebAssembly app, and you're able to host it on sites like GitHub pages or on a storage account static website. So that is pretty cool. So I want to jump into the code now. So Salman did mention that when you're writing apps, especially .NET Core apps, you can either use Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. I will be using Visual Studio Code for this demo because I'm currently on my Surface and not my laptop, but that just shows you the versatile way in which you can create .NET apps. It doesn't matter what platform or what IDE or editor you choose to use, writing the code is still the same throughout. So I'm going to just take you through to this page. It's the bonus.razor page. And I want to briefly talk about the main features of Blazor. Okay. Hopefully the code is visible. So when we talk about Blazor, we talk a lot about components, but we also need to talk about routing, right? A Blazor app is composed of components. A component is a chunk of code consisting of the user interface as well as the processing logic. A Blazor component is also called a Razor component, hence the Razor, Razor file type. Blazor features routing, where you can provide navigation to your controls using the @page directive, followed by a unique route, in quotes, followed by a slash. What I'm going to highlight here for you is the routing directive. This means that whatever I write in this page will be shown at the URL /bonus. That is how simple the routing page directive is for Blazor apps. All you need is to have this syntax and you can route a page. So if we were to run this, and I will show you how it'll actually work. So I'm running it from the CLI because I'm using Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to run the command .NET run. Okay. And .NET run is just a simple command that allows us to run .NET web apps. So that will take a while to load up, and then we'll be able to see that routing in action. So we have to take note of this @page routing directive. Let's go over to our site to see if it has been loaded. I've pre-loaded the address. This is the typical address that a Blazor app is run at. Let's wait for that to just start up, since this is the first time I am using it. It takes a bit of a while on the first run up. While we're waiting for it to start running, perhaps are there any questions in the chat? Simran?
We do not have any questions right now. Anybody has any questions or doubts up until now, please feel free to ask your questions. Remember,
Okay.
no question is a silly question. Go ahead and ask your questions in the chat, please.
Sure. Okay, so now that we have the app up and running, if we just go to this link, I've created this link beforehand, and you will notice that the URL leads to /bonus because we use the page directive in our Razor code, right? So it's very important to note that that is how easy we can route different pages. Now, when we speak about components, right? Blazor is a model which is component-based. So a Razor component is contained in a Razor file and can be nested inside of other components. For example, if we were to create, I see I've already created one here. If we were to create a new component called new comp, right? And all I've written is a simple HTML line, right? It's an H4 header, and the context of that header is new components. And I've given it a simple style with a background color of red, right? So this is a component within my application. I can use this wherever I like within the app. If I were to go back to my bonus page, all I would have to do is I would call the new component in a HTML syntax format. What this does is it looks for a component with that same name, and then it renders whatever code is within that component onto the page that it's called from, right? So if we were to just notice that, what would happen, right? So I'm going to introduce a new command here called .NET watch run, right? And what .NET watch run is, whenever I make a change in my code, it's going to automatically rerun the application so that I can save up startup time. So you'll notice that I've created a new component. I've written a bit of markup, and then I've called this component in the bonus component. So what's going to happen is, after my heading here, it's going to show the context of this new component. So let's just run that and see what it does. Attempting to reconnect the server. Okay, let's go back to our app and just wait for it to load up. And then you can see that we are able to alter the website. Let's just see what it does. You'll notice that now, or we should have the content of that new component, right? So this is very useful. So for example, let's just say if we are to have a gallery of images, right? We don't have to, let's just say we have 50 images. Why would we write markup for 50 images, right? We could just write a single component for a single image and then use that component markup for every single image. So it allows for easy reusability within our app. Okay. Another major function of Blazor are the parameters that we can use within our code, right? So let's go back to the new components that we have created. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be saying we're going to leave that as it is. Then we're going to have another one. Let's just say an H5 header, right? And then this will have at title, right? This title is a property that I'll be coding a little later on, okay? And from Salman's last session, you would have noted that you are able to write C# code within the Razor pages. So you are able to pass values to other components using parameters, just like in normal classes. Component parameters are defined using the parameter key. So this is how you define these parameters, which must be declared as public, right? So if I have a parameter called title, right? There's my parameter setup. Now I'm able to use whatever properties I have within my code block in my HTML file. So whatever value title gets will be displayed as a H5, right? This code is running on the server, because this is a server rendered web app, and then this is just your client side. So if I were to go back to my bonus, right, we have an issue because we have created another property and we haven't passed any value, right? This title is empty, so we need to give it a value so that we can display it in a later stage. So let's give it the title. As you can see, is I can pick up properties that I've defined in that other component, which allows us then to just say, let's just put my name. So now this title then allows us to pass values between components using different mechanisms. In the real world, maybe you would want to persist data through forms. This is a good way of doing that. So just to recap, the parameter we are using is title, and then when we call that component in another page, we need to pass in a value so that we are able to display that value within our page. So we're just running the application now, and then we'll be able to see that the value that we've passed should be displayed onto our page. And that's over there. So this is a very simple aspect to it. There's nothing much to it. So when we look at binding, that is another big feature of most JavaScript frameworks, and that's no difference within a Blazor app. So what we're going to be doing is, let's go back to our new comp .razor file. And what I'm going to be doing is, I'm going to be taking out this and taking out that code. Let's start clean. And what I'm going to be doing is, I'm going to be setting a private string that we have to bind to our component, because we are going to be speaking about two-way dynamic data binding in Razor components, right? So let's set that bound value there. And then what we're going to be doing with this value, let's have an input, right? And so an input is a text box. Then we're going to be using the Blazor focus bind key. What value are we going to be binding? We're going to be binding the value which we have just created, right? And then we need to add an event, right? Those of you who have worked with JavaScript knows that the web usually focuses on events. So which event are we going to be focusing on? We're going to be focusing on the onInput event, right? Let's close that. And then we need to display that value. So let's put it in a p tag. Display current value. And then what value will we be displaying? We are displaying the bound value, right? So just for a quick recap, we have declared a private string variable called bound, and then we have an input being a text box. This text box is binded to the bound value property. And which event triggers this binding? It's the onInput event. So every time I input something within this text box, it is going to inherently change the value of bound value. And then as it's changing that value, we're going to see it being displayed on our screen, right? That is how we'll be doing this value. So then if you go back to our bonus, we will then have to show that, let's take out the title value because we don't need to pass anything into the page. All that we are doing right now is we are binding the value to the input of the user. If anyone is if you're all following. So let's just wait for that to run, and then we will see what I mean by that. Okay. So let's just wait for that to go. Blazor is really good for .NET devs because we don't have to leave any framework that we are comfortable with. We can just do what we want, and it will and we don't have to learn any different frameworks. So as you see, as I'm typing, the text is binded to the value, right? There's no lag in how it is running. If I were to do this previously with just C# code, I would constantly have to make a request back to the server and it'll run every time, but this is purely on the client, as you can see there. So with components, parameters, events, and all of that covered, I would like to fall into a very simple example for you guys. Something more real world, something that we all would understand. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my bonus razor and take this out. Okay, this is what we had started with. And I want to show you this. Right, this is just a real world example of a loaning website. Usually when you take out a loan, and these loaning websites have this kind of UI where there's a slider, and obviously the slider correlates to the amount that you wanna loan out, and moving the sliders automatically move the values within the text boxes. Now, usually this is what JavaScript would potentially have to try and implement, but with Blazor, I can build this markup with pure C#. Okay, so what I'll be doing is I'll be writing that code right here. Just before I carry on, I want to take note of a class that I've written. It's a very simple C# class called MSP level, and each level has two properties, being name and amount. So as MSPs, let's just say Pablo was feeling very generous and he wanted to assign money to all MSPs, right? Let's try and flesh out that scenario. Okay, so we're going to say that Pablo has a total budget of $1 million, right? Or R1 million, £1 million, wherever you may be. And then what we need to do is we need to create a list of all the MSP levels that we have. Okay. So let's do that here. I'm doing everything on this page so that you guys can see how the server rendered apps work. So I'm making a simple list of all the MSP levels. And this list will then consist of the different the milestones that we all know of. So we have a new MSP level, and we're going to assign the name. And the first one will be a gold MSP, right? So let's just copy and paste all of this for the various levels. So we have gold, we have beta, we have alpha 2, and alpha 1, right? These are the levels that we have as MSPs. And then the budget that will be given to all of us is $1 million or 1 million rand or whatever it is. So now we need to create the markup that will allow Pablo to assign these values for us. So if you look at this picture again, you'll notice that every slider is labeled, and it has the currency for each amount, so we can see exactly what it is. So let's write some simple HTML here. I've gone ahead and pre-written some CSS classes. So let's have a for each. So for every level in levels, this levels over here, this correlates to this, right? Our list of MSP levels. So for every one of those levels, we need, okay, let's use a span key. We need to know the name of each level. We need to know the amount that each level is going to get. Let's format this amount to have maybe 1 decimal place, right? And then we need each level to have a slider. So for now, I'm just going to have that just to show where the slider is going to be, right? So far what I've done is I've allocated Pablo with $1 million budget. I've given him all the MSP levels that he needs to give the money to. And then for each one of our levels, we need to have the level name, the level amount, and the slider, which Pablo is then going to use to assign money to us, right? So let's see, I have an error here. Let's just see what that says. The field, okay, it's just a warning, so we can let it go for now. So what we're going to do is, let me just open a new page since I closed the last one. You will notice that in our markup, we should have exactly what we intended. We have the milestones, we have the amounts. So far, we've been assigned nothing. And then we're going to implement our sliders for each MSP. Okay. Then our next step, logically, is to add sliders. So how are we going to add a slider for each MSP? Remember, I'm just using basic HTML and C# code, no JavaScript at all. Let's have a input, right? An input tag, and then the type is range. So type range means that I'm going to be adding a slider. The maximum value that I can assign to each level is what? Is the total budget, right? That is the maximum level. If I have $1 million to give to all MSPs, I can't assign 2 million. My maximum needs to be $1 million. So let's talk about step as well. Step is the increment of the slider. Every time I move the slider, it needs to go up a certain level. If I say 1, that is going to be the longest slider in the world, because I'm going to have to slide 1 million times to get to 1 million. So let's go up in thousands. Okay? And then the slider will need to be binded to the level amount, right? And what I'm saying here is the level amount is let's just fix that real quick. Slider, our max value. Let's see what the area is. Does not exist in the current context. That's very strange. How does that not exist? Does not contain first. Let's just see what the issue is there. I'm trying to assign all the values. I'll just run it and see what the major issue is there. Okay. Let's just see what the major issue is there, and then we will go from there. So I'm missing my case because I need to correspond with what is inside my variables. That is all. I'm just missing the case. So let's save that again and then run. And then you will notice that, well, if you just catch up, you'll notice that I've implemented a slider. And inside this slider, we have a max of total budget, which is $1 million. We need to go up in increments of 1,000. And the binding element, that binding key, is the amount, right? We need to know how much we are giving to each MSP. So if we were to go back to our page and reload the page, you will then notice that we have sliders. And as you can tell, the slider is working. But we have a bit of an issue, right? If you guys can tell, I can't specify any specific values because when I slide, the amount doesn't change until I let go. So if I were to slide this all the way there, it doesn't change until I let go. Because if you build web-based apps, you will know that the default binding to, or the default event, is the on-change. So the data is only binded once I let go of the mouse. I need to make sure that the details are binded only after I slide. So as soon as I slide, I need that event to keep moving. So what am I going to do? All I'm going to do is I'm going to add a binding event, and this event will be an on input event, right? which means that as soon as I move my slider across the screen, that value is going to be changing, right? That is all I have to do. By default, that event is on change. That is why the values were only changing once I released the key. So let's go back to our page and reload it. And then we will notice the slight change in our code, what it has done. Let's just have a look there. Yes, guys, I noticed the comments on my casing. I know that C# coders use a lot of Pascal casing when naming variables, but I come from a Java background, so I'm still addicted to my camel case, and because I also do a bit of Java, my snake case, so my casing, I know it's a weakness, but I'm very inconsistent with my casing, but I will get better. So as you guys can see, the values are changing as soon as I make the slide. But now we have a problem, right? How can I assign $1 million to everyone when I only have $1 million worth of budgets? We need to change this. So how do we change this? We need to ensure that we need to create a variable that keeps track on the remaining amount of money. So let's have a variable called remaining. That remaining is going to be the total budget, right, minus all the levels, dot sum. So we're going to add all the amounts and make sure that the remaining value is equal to the amount minus the total budget. And because now we have that remaining value for us, we can now add that to our slider. So in our max range, we want the max range to be the level dot amount plus the remaining. Okay, the level amount plus the remaining. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be also displaying how much of the money is remaining. So that will be here. And we'll just put another span tag here. At remaining, and we're going to format that to 1 decimal place. Yeah. So let's save that. So we'll just recap what we have done. We have assigned a remaining variable, and this remaining amount is equal to all the level sum subtracted from the total budget. So if I've assigned $600,000, right, to everyone, $1 million minus the 6 will then equal to $400,000, which is remaining. And that is how much the max for each slider is going to be. So let's go back to our page, and then we will notice that as we move the slider, okay, so we have an issue there on our code. I think it's somewhere in the in the code here. Oh yes, this needs to be in brackets because those are variables. Those are C# variables. So we need to just change that. Make sure that all our casing is the same. That is fine. And then because for the sake of time, I'm just going to be skipping a step here, and then I'm going to be adding a button, right? And what this button is going to be doing is it's going to allow us to then display a save button only when we've assigned all of the money, right? So let's keep that there for now so that we're able to see exactly what it does. We'll assign values for it right now. Let's go back to our page. Let's reload it. And then we should be able to see that the sliders are now working, right? But it's working. And once we assign all of the money, then we can't move the sliders anymore. But there's still a major problem in terms of UI. These values are not the same. Visually, the slider is telling me that the values are the same, but these amounts do not correlate, right, with what the sliders are saying. So how are we going to change that? I'm going to add something that might not make sense right away, but I will try and explain exactly what it does. I'm going to be changing the width of each slider as I move it. This width needs to be proportionate to the percentage of, so let's go, it needs to be proportionate to the percentage of the amount and the remaining value divided by the total budget, right? That is a bit of a math hack that I've come up with there, but it's necessary because we need to know that this is exactly the amount that we'll be using when we calculate everything. So what I've done is I've said everyone who knows how to work with widths of inputs is that the width is a percentage. It's either 50% of the page, which makes it half, or it's 25% of the page, which makes it a quarter of the page. But this width needs to be dynamic. It needs to flow with the size of the slider. So what's going to happen is if I move the slider to 100, then the slider needs to change its width so that visually it makes sense with what I'm trying to do. Let's just wait for some build errors here. While it's loading, I can have a look. Let's see what I've done wrong. Style width. Have my ints and then my percentage plus the remaining value divided by the total budget percentage. I wonder, is there anyone who can see what I've done wrong? maybe who can help me. Let's just see. It's the maths, man. I've never been good with the maths. It's always the maths. Level dot amount plus the remaining value divided by the total budget, the percentage of that. So I'm not really sure where I've gone wrong there, but let's just run the code and see what's done. Simran, how am I doing on time? Am I over time? How much do I have
A little
left?
bit.
Oh, okay. Can I maybe just go for 5 more minutes? Is that fine?
Yeah, sure. It's great. Everybody's enjoying the session. It's really informative. We're all really
Cool.
liking it.
Let's see what my errors are. Let's just go back to the code because it's not really telling me in the terminal. Okay, so I have an extra bracket somewhere. I need to fix that. So that's probably somewhere in my crazy maths that I've done. Let's see. We have the width, which is equal to the proportion. Okay, I must be going crazy because I'm pretty sure this is right. Let's see. I have that. I've explicitly converted that to an integer because the reason why I've explicitly converted this integer is because I'm running it in my currency. My currency is rands, so it kind of fumbles a bit there. So that's the reason why I had to do that. But once I fix this error, I'll explain exactly what I've done in terms of the maths that I've done. Okay, I really do not see anything wrong at the moment. Let's just save this and see.
Gomo, I think at the end of line 13, you might have an extra bracket.
End of line 13, I might have an extra bracket. That's what we're here.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because this needs to end with that. That needs to end with that. There's an even amount of brackets. I put this in there so that
these brackets match.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't see the beginning of the line.
Yes. Oh, okay. No, cool. I'm just trying to see where the error is. Waiting for a file change before starting. Cool. Oh, okay. So let me just write the line again.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Maybe you should just cut the line and then start writing it bit by bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That is a good technique. So we have style, and in style we have width, not which. Definitely width, right? And then inside the width, we need to write some C# code. That is why I have written it with the @. Then within that C# code, I need to find a percentage. So with that percentage, I'm going to say 100 multiplied by the level dot the amount, right? Plus the remaining value, right? Did I spell remaining right? Perfect. Plus the remaining value. So that is there. Let's put this in brackets. Okay, plus the remaining value. Perfect. Now, Just add a percentage there. Now, what needs to happen is 100 explicit block is missing a closing. Are you really now? Okay, then what I need to do is I need to divide that percentage by the total budget to find a proportionate value. Okay, so let's see how that will run. I've saved it and let us rerun the terminal. While it's rerunning, maybe I should just start to write some of the last bit of code, which is okay. So actually, I think I am done. Once this maths problem has been solved, and then we can then carry on. Okay. Any questions in the chat once, because this is the last thing that I've done.
Yeah, we can take a question meanwhile. We had a question that said, can JavaScript be used in Blazor? If so, how?
Yes, so JavaScript can be used in Blazor using something called JavaScript interoperability. So what you would do is you would store or you would write the JavaScript in a different file, and then you would invoke that JavaScript using C# in your Razor files. Real example of this is Blazor is unable to communicate with, create a camera element on your app. Maybe you want to take photos for training a machine learning model and you want to have a camera element. Blazor is unable to do this, so you would need to do this via JavaScript, and then you would interrupt or invoke that code using Blazor. I'm actually planning to do a session with cognitive services and Blazor next week, so I'll be covering that section.
Yeah, just to add to that, it's not that, it doesn't get that complicated. You just have to, you do like an async await. You do like JS runtime, and you invoke async on your function. And it's pretty straightforward. You can just have a simple JavaScript file which you put in your script tag, and it's pretty nice. And you can use this, do many other things. So it's you're not losing out because you're getting components, you're getting C#, and you can also use JavaScript just like you normally would. It's like just using a normal script, but you have to use the interrupt instead. But it's pretty nice.
Sure. No, that makes total sense. Okay, so I'm guessing we're gonna have to end this with me not finding out what my error is. What I can do is I can fix it up, and then I can put the code on GitHub, and then share the link with everyone, and then see how it goes. Is that cool?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's cool. What I was actually thinking is that you are certain that the error is from that line, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was going to tell you that if you are not certain, then the best thing is just remove that, calculation, the whole thing, and then run it, and then you come back to it and check it out whether it's run successfully. If it doesn't, yeah. How do you deal with brackets? How do you deal with brackets when you are coding, like so that you don't mess it? I think I, in particular, have a way I do it, but how do you do it?
I just debug. I just try and watch. The first thing I do is I make sure that I have even amounts of brackets, and then I just try and see how exactly I can fix it. So what I will do it, especially in this, what I wanted to try and do is I wanted to just put that and then see if maybe let's put width, and then see if maybe the problem is me. In terms of maybe it's just the maths that I'm trying to do. So basically, I'm trying to come up with a percentage on the proper on the, but trying to come up with that percentage from the amounts which are that I'm playing with in the slider. So I just think that it has something to do with the way I've written that code. So it's just trial and error coding and seeing where it went wrong, and hopefully I can sleep before when it gets fixed.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. That's so cool. I mean, these are things that behind the scene devs always face. You look for where exactly the bracket is left out.
Yeah,
So usually,
exactly.
I think what I would do is that if I have to open a bracket, right, put something in there, and I know I'll be opening multiple brackets, and basically I would just open the even bracket first before I put the code in. So
Sure.
when I'm done with that particular one, I open another even one. Yeah. Salman, you want to share your
Yes, please.
Cool.
Well, I was gonna say, can I just have a look at the? I've been like moving around, so I haven't really been looking at the code. Can I just see the line? I just want to see. So can you replace it with what you had before?
Okay, sure. Let me just write it down.
Oh, you didn't cut it? I thought maybe you just cut it. You could have just pasted it.
No, I am always just trying, and I am like typing, so.
Okay. So I guess this is the last part. So definitely.
Yeah. Are you going to be ending the stream, or?
Oh wait, are you not gonna Control Z? I just want to have a look at what it is. Maybe we can get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't looking before. I was standing up and doing other stuff. I was really distracted, really busy. But I like for the end, you wouldn't need to convert this to an end itself.
No, so with what happens is, because of my currency, this is so with dollars and with euros and pounds, it works without that, because it is then able to identify, because usually these values end up as a double, and then it messes up because with I know you can only have whole numbers. So with my specific currency, it needs to have this explicitly converted.
You know, these extra brackets at the end and the beginning, you don't need those, I think. The extra, like before the end cost and at the end, you could remove that. Potentially that's hindering it.
Okay, sure.
I think just that cost, if you try to remove that might work. I personally think you don't need the end itself. Because it would just round to the nearest.
It's currency the dependent. So if you were to run this, like let's say on because I'm not doing anything in the backend to work with currencies. I'm doing everything on the client side, just for simplicity's sake.
Yeah. Do you want to see if this runs? See. I think.
Yeah, sure. So it's loading now.
Okay. Just thinking. I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So no one said it's easy writing code. If someone told you. But yeah, it's just you try your best and then you do it several times. Even the pros get stuck. Like Gomo is
it's still
has to
unsaved.
debug
I
its
think
error.
it says unsaved.
Sure. So I think we will just leave it for now and maybe push it to.
Save the file. Yeah. There. Okay, if you run that.
Yeah, I can push it up on my Git and then share it with everyone.
This formula looks completely fine.
Still nothing. No.
It still didn't run after. Did you run it after saving it?
Yeah.
Start with.
Oh. Mm.
I'm on .NET Watch, so it builds whenever I am save a file.
Ah. And you have
okay.
even have. Oh, wait! You got a quotation mark. Why do you have quotation?
Where? Where?
No, that's fine. No, I was just like looking into things too much. Like thinking, oh, it could be this little thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, this might be a difficult
Yeah, it
thing to
is.
figure out. Looks like something really, yeah. So let's just wrap the session up, and we'll be providing the link to the GitHub repository that will be
Yep.
posted by Omo after correcting the changes, after
Mhm.
debugging. So we'll be
Okay.
wrapping up for right now, and it's been a great session. This is the first time that I saw Blazor in action, and I'm absolutely intrigued. I'm obviously going to be looking at more
Oh
into
no, you still
it.
have a double bracket at the end.
Oh, do I? Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
No, but
That's it. I think that should be it. That has to be it. You haven't
Yeah.
saved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be it. Yeah.
okay, we're waiting for it to.
The very last time, and then and then
Wait,
I'll.
did you save it and run it, or did you run it and save it?
It is on .NET Watch, so whenever I save, it'll run.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm used to the VS. VS. That's what.
Still.
There's nothing
strange.
wrong with that line. It's
There's
completely
some
fine. Just leave
sneaky
it.
bug somewhere else, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'll figure it out. Shouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Well,
I'm
thank
so
you for
intrigued.
taking out the time to teach
Yes.
everyone about Blazor and .NET. It was
Sure,
really an
of course.
amazing session. Yeah.
Live coding is
so much
very
for,
stressful.
thank you guys for having me.
thank you so much for taking the time out and helping us deliver such great content. And do we have Vedant on the call? Vedant?
Yeah, hi. I wanted to say something here.
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
So, this is something which I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that Blazor does all these things as well. So, it was very informative session. I wish I should have joined earlier. I joined late, so I guess I missed a lot, but I'll see the recording. I go through the playback. So, it was really a great session. Thank you, Gomo and Salman, for it. And thank you, Mr. Inspire.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
So,
you.
all those audience over there, subscribe the channel because MSP Inspire brings such exclusive content and such interesting content every Saturday. At the same time, we call it MSP time. Rather it be any time zone, so it's the MSP Inspire time. So stay tuned and come back next Saturday. We'll have fun.
We'll see you next Saturday with some more great content. And
Cheers.
yeah, good night, everyone.
Yeah. Go check
Or
out
good
Gomo
day,
on Twitter.
everyone.
Go check out Simon on Twitter. Go check that out on Twitter. Sabia Sundaresha and Dawood, of course. And wish him a happy birthday. So I hope you all enjoyed that.
Yeah, hope you all had as much fun watching this as we did.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.